Hi and welcome to Weavers Cellars. I'm Philip, one of the directors at Weavers, and today we're going to be looking at malbec. So malbec, you've probably heard of malbec as being that red wine that comes from South America and tastes great basically, produces really good fruity, jammy style of wines through to big rich earthy wines. But where did malbec come from and why has it become so popular? So malbec's a really interesting grape and it's probably one of my favourite reds at the moment, that and various other bits as well. But historically, malbec came from a region in France, south of France, called Cahors, and produced these really big, black, rich, tannic wines, very earthy, almost like chewing a plank of wood. But also the grape was found quite often in Bordeaux, where it was blended in with other wines to give wine styles that were Merlot had a bit more depth and a bit more complexity. So malbec, like most grapes, has other names. So if you go to the south of France, it's often known as Côte. If you see it in malbec in Argentina, it was actually spelled malbec, as in B-E-C-K, not B finishing in B-E-C. And it was only when the grape became commercially really popular that they standardised the grape variety's spelling of its name back in about 2000, in early 2000s. Malbec lost popularity in France basically because, unlike Merlot, it was quite susceptible to rot and various pests. Merlot was much more safer bet to grow. Also, Merlot became much more commercial, produced softer, more plummy style of wines. And so, historically in the south of France, the grape variety was then replaced with Merlot. But when the Argentinians started to plant it, they were trying to replicate the Bordeaux styles, the Merlot, the Malbec, Bordeaux blends that we see, and actually it started to do really well as a varietal on its own. And the indigenous grape variety that was being used in the popular region of Mendoza was a grape variety called Bernarda, and Malbec gradually has replaced Bernarda as a go-to grape variety by producers. But the really sought after producers that we work with quite often use Malbec in blends as well, so we're starting to see interesting Bordeaux blends coming out of South America. So we're going to taste three styles of malbec today. Two from South America and one from Cahors, one of my favourite wine regions. And actually what we'll do is we taste across these wines, I'll try and explain the differences between the wines that we see. We've got a lovely malbec from Chile, from the Central Valley. We then go to Guggenheim, who's a producer we've been working with for some years now, produces a very soft style of malbec. And then we'll finish with the Cahors style, which is much bigger, much more fuller in style. So the first wine we're tasting is this Vicuna Malbec. Now the Vicuna wines takes its name from the llamas that you find in Chile. It's a sort of unique llama to the region. And we do a range of their wines that are very popular and yeah, we do very well with. Now this is their Malbec. Now on the nose it's got that sort of almost soft, sort of jammy sort of characteristics to it. Slightly spicy fruits are coming through on the nose. Light as a malbec goes on the palate, almost finishing with sort of sweet cherries on the back palate. So a really balanced, easy drinking, lighter style of malbec. So the second malbec we're going to have a go with is a more popular style that we see. This one comes from Argentina, which of course is synonymous with malbec. And this one is produced by a guy called Patricio Guggenheim. We've been working with Patricio for a number of years now, and we find his wines produce just really soft cherry flavours. So let's have a taste. So straight away as a comparison, much deeper in colour, much more broody colour going on there. And again, you've seen that sort of ruby rim around the edge of the wine. So that's sort of what I'd expect from this style of malbec. On the nose, it's very soft, very delicate sort of cherry spice flavours again on the nose. One of those characteristics that I find with malbec. And if we taste it, on the palate, it's got this nice, lingering, mellow, rounded flavour. This will open up as you leave the glass open. The wines, the flavours will stretch and become much more open in its style. But this wine's just got this lovely, delicate, sweet finish to it. Really good value, easy drinking malbec. So the third malbec we're working on with is the Chateau Cassor, which is from the Cahors region, and it's been an estate we've been working with for a number of years now, producing really good styles of malbecs. Now this is a lighter style of malbec and not truly 100% malbec. This has got 20% Merlot blended into it, which just takes a bit of that deep flavour off the malbec. That being said though, it's still got that deep brooding colour that I'd expect from a wine from this region. On the nose, it's got that sort of earthy, spicy sort of characteristics to it. And on the palate, finish is quite rich, quite full, almost drying on the back palate. This is much more of a food-based wine. Worked really well with game dishes, red meats, stews and so on. So a lot of people ask me about the food and wine matching on these style of wines. Now, what I would say is these three wines, the Vicuna Malbec is much lighter in style, so much more of a pizza-based, pasta-based wine. Go well with red meats or your vegetarian dishes as well, but heavier vegetarian dishes. But really, that is the lighter of the styles. The Guggenheim Malbec is much more juicy fruits there. Summer's day on the patio, quite happily drink this one myself, but again, it will sit really well with stews and beef as well, and Sunday roasts. Now the final cohort, very much deeper, broodier, earthier styles, so much more of a food-based wine. And again, this will work with lamb and steaks, really big red meat flavours. But also think about the stews and the dishes that you're putting with it. So that always plays quite an important role.